Welcome to the Live Like Eden podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay, and I'm thrilled that you're here. Years ago, out of nowhere, I found myself in a radical shift in consciousness that took me over 20 years to fully wrap my head around. Yes, that's right. It took me a long time, and without any warning, down the rabbit hole of darkness I went. Now I'm here to share with you all the insights of awakening, spirituality, health, the energetic world we're living in, and my absolute favorite topic, just how crazy the ego mind can be. These subjects are designed to help you understand the awakening process, to open your mind, and prepare you for your own unique spiritual journey toward inner peace. So I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's discussion. Before we get started with today's show, I want to share with you something I've been working on. I have created a quiz just for you to see where you are on your own unique spiritual path. Everybody loves a quiz, right? You can go to my website at livelikeeden.com, click on the quiz pop-up, and answer 10 quick questions. You'll get an immediate response emailed to you with your results, a personalized podcast playlist including 5 Live Like Eden episodes that will offer you assistance where you currently are. And I've also thrown in a few bonus episodes that you'll receive a few days later. If you're a spiritual junkie, you're in the midst of awakening, or you're simply curious where you might be in your own spiritual process, check it out and feel free to share with your friends who might be interested too. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I don't know about any of you or where you're living, but I am over the cold weather, like completely over it. I live in Colorado in the United States, and we get snow and cold in the winter, but overall we get a lot of sunny, nice days. So I can't complain, but we've had a cold January and snow, and normally our snow melts very quickly, but it's been hanging around and it's annoying me. So today it happens to be, I don't know, it felt like almost 50. I got out on the deck right before I came in here to record this, and I am in love with the sun. I just let it soak into my face. I don't know about any of you out there that are ready for sunshine, but I am ready. I'm ready to get on a plane and head south immediately. Anyway, let's get to it today. Today, we're going to talk about worry. I know that all of you listening have dealt with some level of worry in your mind, right? It's very normal. As human beings, we worry about things. But there can be levels of worry that are so extreme that it takes over your life. It's like it has a grip and a hold over you, and you're like a chronic worrier. And maybe you've been through periods of your life where this happens, and you recognize it and you kind of can pull out of it. But for many people, it's a normal thing and they don't even know that it's happening. So today I just want to go over, do you worry about everything? And is wasting energy on what you can't control really worth it? Like, is it worth it to just put all of your energy into what if scenarios going on in your head? Because that's what worry is, right? It's about wondering what could be, or worrying about something that already occurred. You could go either direction with this. So let's get into this today. I want to talk about 3 things. We're going to break down the mind's worry. Like, let's look at the mind's big worry. What's it all about? What's it doing? So it's really important to always look at what your mind's doing so that it gives you the opportunity to get out of it. If you don't know what it's doing, it's really hard to leave it. The next thing we'll look at is the mind's need for control. Like, why is it worrying all the time? And then lastly, let's talk about surrendering the outcome, how to learn to let go and relax in the moment and stop the insanity of cyclical worry. Let's get into this. Do you worry? Do you worry a lot? Are you somebody who worries constantly, that your mind is literally wrapping itself around what if scenarios all the time? Because what is worry creating within us? It makes us feel unsettled, anxious, panicked, nervous. I mean, if any of you have ever worried about anything, you can feel it happening physically in your nervous system. And it's not comfortable, is it? It's really uncomfortable to be feeling like this all the time. So what level of worry do you experience? You know, as I go over this today, think about it in your own life, or if it's affecting somebody you know, think about how it operates for them. How is it working? And what is it exactly that you're worried about? Do you worry about your personal self? Are you worried about other people? People in your life that mean a lot to you, you're worried about what's happening to them? Or both? Maybe you do a little bit of both. What about world affairs? Are you worried about what's going to happen in the world? Are you worried about the environment? What is it that your mind is grabbing a hold of to worry about, to pull you into states of unnecessary emotion, right? A lot of it's unnecessary. Because when we're talking about worry, we're talking about the mind doing what? The mind is very imaginative, right? It's very creative. This can work to our benefit or it can work against us. If you're a creative person, being creative and creating something amazing and seeing it come to fruition is an awesome feeling. But the mind also can work and use its creation to pull you into a state of constant destruction, where you're constantly nervous and worried and anxious. And that's a level of creativity. Don't kid yourself. The mind's being very creative because it's flashing images in your mind that are not real. A lot of them are not real. Some of them are based on future events that you have no idea will happen or won't happen. Now, past events are different because you have lived through those, and the mind, if you're dealing with trauma or anything that was very uncomfortable, it can continue to push out those images. And then that involves a whole nother level of reframing of the mind. And we've talked about that when you see an image, it's learning to reframe it in a different way so that you see it differently. And it doesn't send you into a state of fight or flight or shock or panic or fear, but it's shifting in your mind when you see it. But that requires a lot of work. I'm just speaking very generally here about worrying about little things in the past, but they just dominate. You just can't stop doing it. There are things that aren't happening anymore, right? Even past events that happened already, they're gone. And there's nothing you can do to get them back. Noticing when your mind is throwing these past images at you, it might be beneficial to say, I see it's there, but it's not happening and it's not affecting me anymore. When you're talking about future events and worrying about what's going to happen in the future, what are you worried about mostly? A lot of people are worried about work, what's going to happen at work. You're stressed out. You're overwhelmed with too many things. You're worried about your personal relationship. You're worried about your kids, what's going on in their lives, all the things that you have to do. Maybe you're concerned about your health. You're dealing with a health crisis and now it's worry, 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 and you're spinning out of control there. It's really amazing how the mind will take you on a ride, isn't it? It's amazing what it'll create, what it'll think, what different dramatic scenarios. I call them theatrical scenarios because they aren't happening. Even if something did happen, it's not happening now. It's not occurring. It's imaginative. And depending on your level of belief in the thought or the image that's coming up in your mind, you might really believe it. And so then it's re-emphasizing the importance of this image or thought and making it even more real. When you think about it, the only thing that appears real in this world is what's happening right now, right in front of your face. That's the only thing we can say is truly real is what's going on right now. There is no other timeline for us to access in this world. Your mind can conjure up whatever it wants about what it thinks is going to happen in the future, and you can worry yourself sick over that to the point of feeling physically ill, right? How many of you have worried so much that you're sick in bed? You feel terrible. I can speak to this worry because there was a time in my shift in consciousness that I was dealing with a lot of physical energy into my system. It was very uncomfortable to my nervous system. I never knew when I was going to get these surges of energy. And not only were they uncomfortable in my own home, they were incredibly uncomfortable when I was out in the world in a public venue. It was horrible. It was even worse. It was like it would amplify even more. So I developed a very strong level of worry. When I go out, I'm worried that this is going to happen. Even though in the moment when I'm sitting there, nothing is happening. But my mind's playing out the scenario. I'm worried about this possible event happening. And then when it would happen, then I would say, see, I was right. It's happening. Instead of just staying really honed in on the present moment, getting grounded and taking everything as it came to me, I was 100 steps ahead in my mind. And this level of worry was causing me serious anxiety, panic, fight or flight, all kinds of things were happening to my nervous system. On top of the energy that was affecting the nervous system. So it was like a double whammy. It made me feel incredibly unsettled. Maybe some of you have had the same experience of level of panic or fight or flight. And when that happens, when fight or flight goes off in your body, there's nothing you can do. You just kind of have to let it run its course. As long as you understand what's happening, you can take the fear out of it. The nerves are going to do their thing. And you sort of lay witness to it if you get really good at it. I am going to do a show on fight or flight one day. I think a lot of people experience this, and I developed a lot of tools that really helped. Anyway, that's a totally different topic, but it can happen during worry. You can worry yourself so much, you send yourself into a panic and a frenzy. People that develop panic attacks and all kinds of stuff. And what's amazing about all of this, when you think about the mind's big worry, is your body can react to the level of worry that's only occurring in your imagination. How many of you have explored a possibility in your mind and it created sensations in your body, yet it wasn't actually happening? Now that's a testament to the power of the mind. And what else it's a testament to is your ability to grab a hold of what the mind is telling you. The question becomes, do you have to do that? Do you have to entertain what the mind is presenting you? And we'll get into this at the very end of the show. This level of imagination that we all have can take us on a roller coaster ride if we're not aware of it. And when you're not aware of it, it's like you're strapped in and you have no idea if you're going to go up or down, or you're going to corkscrew around, flip upside down a million times, jerk your head around, all the sensations that a roller coaster creates. When you're not aware that you're on the ride with your mind, you're just in a reactionary state. You're just going along with it, thinking you have no say in it. And this is where we'll get to in this show, that you do have a say in it, that your mind does not have to control your every move, that your mind does not have to be so domineering in your life. It doesn't mean it won't be there. Of course it's going to be there. But does it have to dominate? You might ask yourself questions like, why does the mind continue to distract us with past and future events? I brought this up last episode a little bit when I was talking about transcending time to live in the now. And specifically, I was speaking about dissolving darkness in your life. And we were looking at the timeline that the mind believes we're living in, which is linear, right? We can all collectively agree in this world that the time we're living in is past, present, and future. That's what it appears to be. Even though in reality, the only thing that's actually occurring is right now. However, the body tells us we're getting older, people age, and so we see this linear progression of things that happen in the world. And the mind will do its very best to distract you with these past events and future worry so that you never have access to now, which is where we can access our spiritual mind. So if you want to get more into that, go back and listen to the last episode if you didn't. It will really help you understand this. So there is a rhyme or reason to what the mind is doing. It's just distract, 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 worry, worry, worry. Project everything outside of yourself so you don't have access to your inner world, which is where major shifts in perception happen. It's where you create a connection to your higher self and your spiritual being. So whether you're worried about work, you're worried about your health, you're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, you're worried about governments and what the political arena looks like, you're worried about war, you're worried about the world ending. This is all fear-based, right? Everything in there is about fearing what might happen. But in reality, you can't really control a lot of that, right? And that leads me into the next topic, which is the mind's need for control. The mind will make you believe that it can control everything in the world. Can you imagine being able to control everything? I don't know about any of you, but when you go out into the world, it just looks like a chaotic circus half the time. And people say, well, it's all happening for a reason. Well, maybe it is, but it certainly looks like a mess. You know? It's a messy orchestration of life, right? Maybe there's a lot of rhyme or reason to it, and maybe there isn't. I think that there's some part of us that wants to believe that everything has a huge purpose and meaning, right? Wouldn't the ego want us to believe that, oh, everything outside of us has so much meaning? I'm not telling you to believe one way or the other, but it's certainly interesting to look at. Really, all these crazy events mean something. Like, they seem nuts. And then when you get into that, you start going, wow, what is all of this? And to think that my mind is so fixated on worrying about all this, it's making me physically ill. That's when you're really wrapped up in it and you're really involved and you're taking the bait and you're believing in it. That's the way you feel when that happens. When I was in my state of thinking this is a horrible thing in my life, I was there. I was believing it all. You can't do anything. This is horrible. And the mind continues to do that so that you avoid that present moment, right? You avoid that inner connection to something greater that can guide you in a little more relaxed, calm, peaceful fashion, right? I mean, think about it. If you had to choose, would you rather feel anxious, panic, craziness inside, like you're going to lose your mind, or would you rather walk through the world at ease, flowing with whatever happens? The mind's need for control is constant. It's constantly needing to control everything that you think and believe. Because if you disbelieve it and stop giving it focused attention and energy, it's not controlling anything. You're going deeper within to your awareness, into that decision-making ability and saying, I don't need to believe this. But as long as you believe it, as long as you're strapped into the roller coaster, as long as you're on the worry train, the mind is in total control. And have you ever wondered why this is happening? Why does the mind spin us into possibilities that may or may not be happening? Why is it we spend so much time even entertaining these dramas in our mind? Like, why are we giving it any energy? There must be something in us that believes it's possible. If you worry about something regularly, there must be something in you that believes it could happen, or you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't even entertain it. So if you allow your mind to dominate by continuing to believe that the past holds power over you, or that the possibilities of the future can grab a hold of you as well and exhibit massive control, you just fall into the same pattern over and over and over again. And it feels like you can't ever get out of it, right? This is just the way I am. I'm just a worrier. I'm just anxious all the time. Eventually there comes a point where people get tired of feeling a certain way, right? You might get tired of worrying. How many of you wake up in the middle of the night because you're worrying about something? You're replaying scenarios in your head that you didn't like that happened. You're replaying them and trying to get a better outcome. Or you're replaying a future experience that's headed your way. You're playing it out, trying to make sure it goes the way that you want it to in real time when it actually happens. How many of you wake up in the middle of the night worried about your kids? Maybe they're not home. They're not coming home on time. What are they doing? Years ago, when two of my children started driving, when they first get their license, it's a little bit of a worry because you're like, oh no, what are they doing? They're going to hurt themselves. They're going to hurt somebody else. And once they've had their license for a little bit, at least for me, I just stopped worrying because I thought, well, I can't do anything about it anyway. I'm not with them. They're going to make their decisions and they're going to do what they do. And if anything should happen, then I'll deal with it. But I'm not going to worry about it before that. Because if you believe in all the imaginary scenarios, all the theatrics going on in your head, the possibilities that exist, right, for the future, which are endless. I mean, you could spend hours worrying about something, so much so that you've lost time to get anything done because you've been worrying yourself sick. But if you let this happen, and I say let it happen because there is an awareness inside all of us that can choose otherwise. We can choose a different way, or at least we can choose to say, I know what's happening here. My mind is going off, right? It's just going into freak out mode, but I'm going to pull back and I'm going to sit in this vast space of awareness, this sacred space within me, and just relax for a minute and pull out of the need to attach to the worry and panic and anxiety that's flooding my system. When you think about it, it's like you're a puppet. You're just a puppet on a string. When that mind goes crazy, you're just at the mercy of it, right? Thinking you have no control. Well, you absolutely can take your power back here. You can absolutely choose to say, I'm not doing this anymore. Because you know what? I'm not happy in this. I don't feel good in this. I'm tired of feeling anxiety. I want to feel peace. I want to feel relaxed. And I'm tired of going around the merry-go-round, worrying about every little thing. And you know what? Most of the time it doesn't happen, does it? Maybe sometimes your mind goes, see, I told you so. Don't you love that one? I told you so. You should have been more concerned about it because look what happened. That's a recipe for disaster. It really is. Now, can you be cautious of future events? Of course. Can you try to do things to prevent certain things that may be horrible from happening? Absolutely. I'm definitely not suggesting that you don't look out in the future and try to prepare. What I am saying is when you let the mind control you 24/7, you're in a state of chronic worry. And most of the time when you're in a state of worry, your nervous system is stressed out and in a state of fight or flight on some level. In order to take your power back and realize that the mind will continue to try to control you unless you do something, all that's required really is that you say, I don't have to believe it. I don't have to believe what my mind is telling me, even though my mind is going to continue to try to tell me that. I don't have to believe it. That's the shift. That's the place of change. You're taking your own power back by simply acknowledging that you don't have to buy into it. This is not only true for your personal thinking, but it's also true for what's going on in the world. Think about this for a minute. There's a million media outlets out there, right? They're all pushing their narrative. A lot of them say the same exact thing, verbatim. You could flip through all the cable channels in the world and you'll hear similar talking points. Do you find that odd? Is that independent thinking or critical thinking of an individual? Hell no. That is a controlled operation. You could look at it on social media. You can look at it on the radio. I mean, it's everywhere. And it doesn't even matter what they're talking about. It could be anything, but they all have the same thing to say. I find that boring. It's like, really? With all of the individual journalists out there, this is all we got? I don't buy it. But look at the level of control there. You could argue the collective mind is trying to control your mind and lure you in. So whether it's your own mind where you have trouble with worry, and then you're worrying about outside events that you can't even control, a lot of them you can't control, you can begin to ask yourself, why am I putting all my energy into this? I'm wasting my own time, right? Why spend the time worrying about things I can't control? I mean, that's a big question because a lot of people worry about a lot of things they can't control, especially when it comes to your family members or your loved ones or your kids or your parents. You can't control what other people do, and yet you're worried about them 24/7. And it's robbing you of your own peace or your own contentment or your own sense of well-being. You certainly don't have to be controlled by your own mind. You don't have to be controlled by the collective mind. You have decisions to make inside of you. There's that place within, that larger awareness. It's a sacred space deep within you that you have a decision to make. There's no chatter there. There's no thought there. It's a vastness. And in that vastness is where you have a choice. So think about that when the mind is going crazy on you, where you feel like a worried nutcase, you know? anxious all the time. I was there. I know how horrible that feels. Feel like you're just constantly buzzing, like you're drinking coffee. Maybe some of you do drink coffee all day. I can't handle caffeine, but it feels like you're on something. Like I felt like I was on drugs and I'm not on anything, you know? So there is a place within you that can access this peace, this deep state, I would say, of flow with life itself. That no matter what happens around you, you can access a place of peace, that you're okay with whatever happens on the outside because you're so connected on the inside. After looking at the mind's big worry, its huge capacity for imagination, creativity, scenarios and drama, flashing imagery in your face 24/7, the body's response to it, which is even more amazing, even if it's not happening, you're experiencing something and you're sitting in your room. How bizarre is that? Right? You've literally created a blockbuster film in your mind and you're reacting to it. I mean, if you go to the movies, the same thing happens, right? If there's a movie with a lot of emotion, your body is reacting. And then the mind's need for controlling you, to control every situation, to control every outcome, as if that were even possible. When you think of it like that, it sounds silly. Why am I so focused on something I really can't control? Surrendering the outcome seems like the next logical step. Because the mind is so fixated on needing to know that outcome, needing to know everything, how is it possible just to surrender? You hear this a lot, right? Surrender is a big part of transformation, of spiritual awakening, of a major shift in your life, a challenge in your life. You'll hear people say, just surrender, just let go. And you're going, have you ever done that? You're telling me to surrender. Have you ever surrendered? Do you know what it means to let go? When people throw these words around and have no clue what it actually means to surrender, they have no clue what it means to truly let go of something. There's no right or wrong formula for this either. It's something each individual comes to in their own time when you're truly ready to let something go. It's almost as if it leaves you. And then one day you look and go, oh, that's not there anymore. When you stop trying is when things shift. To me, that's what it means to surrender and let go. It's when you stop trying to control everything. You stop needing to know where you're going. You stop needing to worry about every little detail of the future or worrying about an experience that happened in the past because it's over. And you can't possibly know exactly how the future is going to unfold. So why waste your time? Why waste your personal reserves, your energy reserves, on something that you really don't know? You don't have to grab a hold of anything if you don't want to. If you want to live in cyclical thought and believe everything your mind is telling you, you can. You want to worry about something? Worry about it. If it makes you feel better to worry about it, then do that. But if you're tired of it, and you're tired of the physical symptoms that go along with it, and all you want to feel is just relaxed. You want to feel okay. You want to feel a sense of contentment that no matter where your life takes you, you've surrendered to the outcome, that you're okay with where life takes you. And you almost develop a sense of excitement about not knowing what the hell is going to happen, right? Eventually, if you get tired of the state of worry and anxiety and panic and nervousness and all these things, if you get sick and tired of it, if it's been going on long enough and you're at the point where you just can't do it anymore, is when you're ready. You may not know how, you may not know what to do, but you know that you're ready for a change. You know you're ready for that shift. To truly get out of worrying 24/7, you can ask yourself a series of questions. I'm huge on questions. If you don't ask your own mind questions, you don't know how to get out of it. You don't see it. It's like we're blinded by it. If you're not willing to look, then the curtain is still drawn, right? And you can't see, you're in the dark. But when you're ready to ask the tough questions, the curtain will slowly lift, the light will slowly come in, and things will start to rumble and shift within you. So think about these questions. These are things that I think about. And these are to help you surrender to the now moment, to let go and get comfortable with not knowing what lies ahead for you. Number one, why are you worried about what will happen in the future? So think about this question really deeply. Why are you worried about what's going to happen in the future? And then trace this as far as you can to get to the bottom of what you're really afraid of. I'll use myself as an example. I was so worried that I was going to experience more and more energy in my physical system constantly. I was afraid of it. And what I was really afraid of is that the energy would take me out. Like I'd just be somewhere and I'd get so much energy that I'd just fall to the ground and be blacked out. And then eventually I got comfortable with that idea. And then what? So what? You're laying on the ground at the store and you pass out. I'm sure there'll be some people that come over and go, "Are you okay?" There's always good Samaritans somewhere. And then I got comfortable thinking that, okay, I'm okay with that. If something happens to me, I'm sure somebody will help me out. And then if you trace it far enough, it's almost like you're afraid of death. And then what? And then what? So you can just keep tracing it. What are you really worried about in the future? And FYI, I've never lost consciousness anywhere. There was a complete fabrication in my mind. It was just something that I thought it was so overwhelming to my system. It would feel like I was going to explode or lift up out of the body. That's how much energy it would feel like. My brother would joke around with me and say, well, maybe you'll just self-combust. You'll just like vanish. And, so if you get some jokes in your life and you start thinking about how ludicrous it all sounds, it helps. It helps you feel better. But getting comfortable with, well, if I drop, because people do drop, right? It happens all the time. There's always people that help them. That's an example for you. But you can ask your own questions about why you're worried about the future. Number two, is it worth your energy to worry all the time? Do you like worrying all the time? Is it worth your personal energy reserves? What else could you accomplish or focus on in life if you weren't preoccupied with worrying? Think about all the time you'd have. What else could you get accomplished, or what else could you focus on? Maybe you could look into some other hobbies or passions you could take up in life if you weren't worrying all the time. Number three, can you really control what happens in the future anyway? I mean, think about it. Do you have a say in it? Can you control other people? The only thing you can control is you. Can you control how your life unfolds all the time, or how your loved ones are going to live their life? Have you ever thought maybe you need to experience certain things in life for your own learning? Even if you don't agree with what's happening, if it's going to be a horrible experience, maybe there's some reason that you need to go through it. Maybe it's going to lead you to something else that you just don't see yet. The same thing's true for people you love, your closest friends and family around you. Can you control their decisions? Can you control what they're going to go through? This is a good one for you parents out there, because it's hard when you have children. When they're old enough, they start making their own decisions, and you just have to let go and let them make the decision. Let them walk their path. Let them go through the experiences that they need to go through. And then you don't worry so much. They're going to do what they're going to do anyway, right? Number four, would you rather be worried or at peace? Would you rather feel fear or love and contentment? And then ask yourself this. This is a good one. Why do you think your mind is addicted to feeling unsettled? That's a tough one, right? It's tough to admit that you're addicted to worry. On some level, when you think about people's obsessive personalities or people that have addictive personalities, how is it any different to be addicted to a certain state of mind, or be addicted to worry, or be addicted to your anxiety? On some level, it is an addiction. I continue to do this. I am continuing to buy into this. Maybe just seeing it in that way is the step that you need to start letting it unfold. Acknowledging that you're doing it is huge. I finally came to a point where I'm like, I am doing all of this. This does not have to be so difficult. I could absolutely start learning how to deal with the energy that I'm feeling in my life. What is it communicating to me? It's not happening for no reason and it's not going away. You can start really saying, wow, I don't need to be in other people's business in my head 24/7, right? How many of you worry about other people as if you can control anything they're doing? And you're in their business, right? It's kind of like you think you might know better than they do. And when you recognize that, wow, I guess I don't need to butt in to their life because that's for them. Their experiences are for their own learning, and there's nothing I can do about it anyway. And who am I to say what somebody should or shouldn't do? Who am I to say what they need to learn or not learn? There's a little bit of that ego arrogance in that position. So look at that if you're ready and willing. Then can you access your ability to choose and see that you don't have to believe the worrying thoughts that your mind is presenting you? Can you pull back enough out of the thinker and get into that vast space within you that you don't have to believe what your mind is showing you? You can acknowledge that it's there. Oh, I see that it's there, but I'm not doing that today. I'm just not. And if your body is still reacting, because there's a memory there that if you've been doing something long enough and you've been believing in your worry and the anxiety is there, if that pattern has been happening for a very long time, your body will continue to react even when your mind steps out of it. It's almost as if there's a period of time where you have to reframe everything, and eventually the body will respond, but it's not something that happens immediately. So just keep that in mind. If you're stepping out of your worry and your mind is okay with what's happening, let's say you're not worried about it anymore, you recognize what's happening, but your body's going into like a fight or flight or a nervous reaction, just watch it. You see it for what it is. Eventually, when you stop believing it enough and the patterning is recreated, the body will follow into that relaxation or that calm state. But it does take a little time. There's a little bit of a transitional period there. The last question I want you to think about is surrender is easier said than done. I am definitely not saying to you all, just surrender and get over it. Definitely not. I completely understand the difficulty involved and the effort involved to actually shift something major in your life that has to do with worry. It's not as easy to do as it is to talk about, but I want you to think about these questions. What does it mean to surrender to your worry? What would that mean to you? Because this is all about you. You're going to create your own system. What does it mean to surrender your worry? And then how do you let it go? How are you going to let it go if you're a chronic worrier? What are some things you can think of that would just let you relax a little bit more? Maybe it's something as simple as just shifting your attention elsewhere. Recognizing, oh, there's my worried mind again, but I'm going to redirect my focus somewhere else right now. I'm going to reframe and get into something that makes me feel good right now instead of making me feel horrible. I'm going to imagine something right now in my state of worry and panic and nervousness that actually brings a smile to my face. Like, what could I imagine that makes me feel good? And as I started this show today, I started it off by telling you I love the sunshine. And I sat in it today. I could pop an image of sitting in the sunshine in the middle of my anxiety and panic. I'm in the sunshine, I'm calm, this is the state of mind that I love to be in. See what I'm getting at? You just pop an image of something that makes you feel better. You do it enough, your mind will completely shift into a different state of being. But it does take some effort, it takes some practice, and I hope that this helps you understand that your mind is trying to play tricks on you a lot, right? Not all the time. It can be used for good. But a lot of the time when we have these states of panic and worry and it's taking over our life, it escalates into a situation that now it's a problem. And now you don't know what to do. So just asking yourself this series of questions, looking at it, trying to redirect your attention elsewhere, acknowledging that you're thinking and believing this, that's huge. That's a huge step in the right direction if you're looking to feel relaxed, at peace, and calm. Before I leave you today, I want you to consider dropping the need to know the outcome of everything that ever happens in your life. Dropping the need to know what's going to happen to your loved ones or your friends at work, what your future profession looks like, how much money you're going to have in the future. Will you be able to afford anything? Is the world going to end? I'm willing to make a really large bet that the world's not going to end. It never has. And as long as we collectively believe in it, it's right there. It's right there in front of us. And even if the physical world would end, where is our true world? Where is it? The inner world is sitting within us. That kingdom of God is within you. Can you be comfortable in the unknown and trust that no matter what happens in life, you're always being guided to exactly where you need to be? Work on bringing yourself into a state of peace in the present moment. And then notice, how do you feel when you do that? How do you feel when you're in a state of calm as opposed to when you're in a state of worry? Start evaluating these differences and you'll realize, I don't want to be in that state anymore. I'm much happier in my state of inner peace and calm and tranquility. Life is so beyond our control that it seems comical to me that we even try to control any of it. You can control what you do, how you speak, how you treat other people, what you want to do in your life. You can control those things on some level, right? Until you can't. And then things blow up and you get redirected. The larger intelligence says, no, you need to be over here. So it'll make sure that happens, right? You know what I'm talking about. You think everything's well until it's not. And then you have to deal with that. And then you get redirected somewhere else and your path keeps sort of winding around, right? Allowing yourself to just go with the flow. And I know that's a common statement that a lot of people make, just go with the flow. But there is a real depth to that statement. And if any of you have accessed it in your life, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a larger field of awareness that is the flow of life, that is beneath the surface of what our eyes see. It's the connection we have to all things while we're here in this physical world. When I say go with the flow, I don't mean it on the surface level. I mean it as connect to the deeper essence of who you are and allow yourself to be guided by the wisdom that lies beneath. That'll do it for today. I did put this in a blog post, so I will link it in the show notes if you want to look over. I have a ton of questions in it. If you're looking to shift the amount of worry and anxiety and nervousness that you experience in your life. That'll wrap up today's show. Until next time, I invite you to check out my website at livelikeeden.com. You can sign up for a weekly email reminder when my new podcast and blog comes out, which is every Wednesday. If you are struggling with your own awakening process and you need further assistance or guidance, you can also sign up for a free consult, and I would be more than happy to work with you. If you're enjoying the show, I ask that you share it with others that you think it might benefit. Until next time, thank you so much for listening.